Welcome back to page 121. Today we're going to take a look at an offering from the late 80s, early 90s, and it's technically AD&D 2nd edition, the Monstrous Compendium, the 3-ring binders. These are famous and maybe a little infamous for what they gave us. I personally love these things. I bought them in the early 90s and have used them a ton. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at them and see what they brought to the table as far as play is concerned. Also, just a quick word, subscribers. Subscriptions are growing nicely. The channel's doing well. Oddly enough, views have dropped off. I'm not really sure why. So maybe I'm putting out too much content. Maybe it's oversaturation. I don't know. But the views have definitely dropped. So just FYI. Also, I have a Patreon going right now. Anyone who already is a patron, thank you very much. Folks that haven't considered being a patron, please do. Take a look and help the channel continue to thrive. But that's all I've got today on the commercial. Now back to the important stuff. We're going to start with Monstrous Compendium Volume 1 with some other things in here. And this is the 2nd edition monster manual, if you will, today on page 121. All right, Monstrous Compendium Volume 1. This is the first binder set. There were 2 binders published. And this one gave us a lot of the core monsters, so it was kind of your first monster manual. And then they published, I think, 14 appendices to this. So this one was published in 89. The appendices went through about 93 to 94. I was able to get my hands on them, on the base ones and the appendices, for pretty good prices. I was running around buying closeouts on most of these things. The chief problem with these is they tear. These have been very carefully kept and very gently used, and yet the pages still tear. Not much you can do about that in a 3-ring binder. I think that was the main reason people didn't really care for these. I liked them. I liked them a lot. What they did in 2nd edition is they gave a lot more space for each of the monsters. So even as something like an Arakakra, which is a monster I've used a little bit here and there, he first appeared in the Fiend Folio, I believe. We were able to flesh this guy out. He was Fiend Folio or Monster Manual 2, I don't remember off the top of my head. But they fleshed him out more, and we got it broken down by a general description, combat, habitat and society, and then the ecology. This made it really handy. What I do when I prepare games, the game I just ran, I did the same thing, is I pull out my Monster Manual, my Fiend Folio, Monster Manual 2, and I'll go ahead and I'll thumb through those old, well-worn friends to get an idea of what it is I want to use for that game. Once I've picked out a handful of different creatures, very often I'll go ahead and pull these guys out. And then I'll go ahead and take a look if there's anything that's been added in the 2nd edition printup to enhance or otherwise make it more interesting for my players. And very often I'll find stuff that did. One other thing that these did was they made dragons worthy of being half the name of the game. Dragons are very, very tough under the 2nd edition write-ups. And giants became formidable. Prior to this 2nd edition giants, I'd had to kind of beef up on my own because, honestly, especially once we got weapon specialization, giants just fell way too fast. They were nothing but big bags of hit points. They did plenty of damage and they killed plenty of characters, but they weren't the completely feared fee-fi-fo-fum that they had been earlier. So this kind of brought them back in, and I never thought dragons were what they should have been in AD&D until these came out. I had beefed up dragons myself. We took out subduing dragons. I never liked the subdual rules. We pulled those out. But these books made them much stronger. So then we get to go through. We get the Aboleth, the Aerial Servant, Herd Animals, the Ankeg, one of my favorite monsters. And each of these came with these little plates, these little dividers. And I've used these dividers in this. I also use them as dividers in my that's Earth's Opus Omnibus, the little book that I put together a few years ago. I use these as dividers in that as well. So we would go ahead and I would just split this up. Now, I say we, I'm the only one that really uses these. My wife and both my sons DM. But my sons DM their groups. They've never DM'd our group. But my wife does DM our group occasionally. She uses these somewhat, but mostly she'll just go for the Monster Manual, which is the hardcover trimmed down version of these things. So I'm just going through here and showing some stuff. We got a nicer look at Genies. Got a lot more information on Genies as a whole. And then we get each of the Genies brought out here. The Jan, the Merid, And then as they were having products come out for these, we also got these kind of sheets for them. In some cases, they were 3-hole, 5-hole punched, and you could pop them in here, which I did with a few of the modules that I've had over the years and added them in here. They didn't exactly fit alphabetically, but I could always live with that. So we're going to go past the ghost. We're going to get to the giant. Giants became much more formidable here. We get the ghoul, we get the cloud giant. I'm going to go to our good old friend, the hill giant. Hill giant is one of my standard go-tos. And there we are. Hill giant is 12 plus 2 hit points. He's armor class 3 or 5, depending on what he's wearing. And he does 1 to 6 or by weapon. It's 2 to 12 plus 7 damage. So we got a lot of improvement on giants in this one. I had always kind of given my giants their strength bonus simply because it made them more dangerous. But we finally got it here as an official thing, and it made them much more playable. Let me back up just 1 second. I missed the dragons, which I wanted to take a look at. There we are. And there we have the dragons, and the dragons are brought out very nicely by age. And the dragons get improved armor classes, greater age. Their breath weapon does greater damage. They get various spells as wizards or priests, depending on what they are. I think that's supposed to be MR. Yeah, MT, that's a typo. It's supposed to be MR, magic resistance, the various treasure types, and their experience point values. So you got a lot more, and they started with base hit dice. So Black Dragon, for instance, starts as a base 12. So he gets a base 12 hit dice. Then for each age category, he gets another hit die. So you can get some dragons that really get up there fast and are very formidable. They can attack with their wings. They can attack with their tails. So dragons became much more formidable courtesy of these books. So now I'm just going to jump ahead a little bit. You see some of the fine TSR artwork that was used here from old dragon covers and things. I'm going to jump past the base book. Now, Sahuagin, to one of the appendices that they came out with, which was Greyhound Adventures. Now, this was about appendix number 5, I think. Don't hold me to that. But I kept this in this book because I run a Greyhawk campaign, so I wanted this at my fingertips. And these are all monsters that are peculiar to the world of Greyhawk. Aspies, of course, appear in the Slave Lords books, Beastmen, and so on. So I really like having these. That's why I put them in my primary book. And then the other thing I put in my primary book was the Monstrous Compendium for the Outer Planes. I think this was number 8. And this is all the outsiders. I put this here because of the other appendices, these are the 2 creatures, or 2 references that I use the most. And this guy was published in 1991. So these books are as old as my oldest son. I was buying these when he was still in diapers. So there we go. We've got the Batazu, which are what demons came to be called. Devils came to be called. And then the Tanari, which is what demons became. And they're called out here by whether they're greater. This one's a guardian. You get lesser. You get the least, the dretch, and the mains, things like that. So they did a nice job of breaking these out and really spelling out what the creatures can and can't do. And like I said, most times when I'm creating a game, I'll still use the old books because, quite frankly, I love the old books and I know the old books like the back of my hand. But I'll just flip through and I'll come to a page and I'll read the heading and I'll go, you know what? I want to see if they improved on this. So if I'm, for instance, looking at Tanari, demons, and I want to look at the ice demon, the Chasm, that's one of my favorites. I like the Chasm or Chasm, however you say it. It's the one that can drone with its wings and make you save or fall asleep. An incredibly dangerous creature from the lower planes, and I like sticking them in dungeons. This guy has 8 hit dice, 8 plus 2 hit dice, armor class -5, 50% MR. So these things don't go down without a fight. And that was what I liked about what these books did. They made a lot of the creatures much tougher to deal with. Granted, it was in line with 2nd edition, but 2nd edition and 1st edition line up so well it doesn't really matter. So that's a quick look at the first couple. Oh, we got alphabetic listing too for Monstrous Compendiums, which is kind of neat. And we got encounter tables, dungeon levels. I think there's monster summoning tables in here. It's everything you would need to run even a 1st edition game. It's just under 2nd edition emblem. This is before second edition really took off in a bunch of different kits. Kits were part of it, I know, but before it went real crazy with that, with making you buy book after book to get the kits. So these are still very coherent and work very well with first edition, which is the point of doing this video. So I have the second volume. Maybe, you know, depending on how well this video does, I'll feature the second volume. Also want to just say I'll be at Adepticon in Schaumburg, Illinois, Saturday, March 25th. I'll be walking around in a Doc Savage t-shirt. If you see me, come on by. Let's talk for a few minutes. I am not running any kind of event or anything there. I'm simply going as someone to wander around the game room and the vendors hall. Admission for that is free. There are a bunch of tournaments. You're welcome to sign up for whatever you want, although I'm sure a lot of the tournaments are closed now. But they play Warhammer 40K primarily there. I think it's the largest gathering of Warhammer 40K games under one roof. It's really amazing to walk through that hall and see 400 Warhammer games going at the same time. And then just the other side of the hall is the vendor area. And just past that area is an area that has Marvel Crisis Protocol, a lot of Battletech, Star Wars, Star Trek games. And then they even have an upper area where they just have tables set up, and you can go ahead and just squat on a table, and you and your friends can play a little bit if you have some downtime. I've done that a few times at Adepticon. My son Adam and I have played some games of Warhammer just because it's fun. So there you have it. That's it for today. I just wanted to let you know about the Monstrous Compendiums. These are available on Drive-Thru-RPG. I think they're about $5 each. They're worth it. If you're still playing first edition like I am, these are absolutely worth it. It's a nice addendum to what's already going on in first edition. That's it for today on page 121. I want to thank you for your time. Thanks for watching. Please leave any comments and like the video, and I'll see you next time.